And the bell just rang, so it's time for another session at the Norfolk Knitting School. I am Anne Marie, and you are watching, of course, the Norfolk Public Access here in Norfolk, Massachusetts. Now, I brought in something. Well, let me start with this. This is a sweater that I made, and you know, I often don't use patterns. I do things that are very simple, and I get yarn that's interesting, because sometimes, to be quite honest with you, there are flaws in these patterns, just in the way that the stitches come together. Okay, so this is all ribbing. This is one-on-one ribbing, and this is, as you can see here, this is knit 1, purl 2, and this is garter. So what has happened here is that even though this is not tight, this ribbing, one-by-one ribbing, draws together. So it inevitably pulls this open, which I can't do too much. I've got my mic there, but it sort of pulls it open where it's buttoned, and you know, so that's always been kind of a problem with this. The other thing I wanted to show you, which I hope you can see, I'll do this. Let's see. Okay. So if you look here at the bottom, in fact, maybe my camera woman will do this for me, the incomparable Christina Gleason. If you look at this here, okay, this is ribbing, and this is garter. And you see how this garter pulls up. So, you know, it really, and I guess I could have blocked this and pulled this down, but I really don't like to do that because I think it mashes the texture down on the sweater. So you've got this little thing here, which, okay, it's a small thing, but you know, when you spend this kind of time making something, not to mention the expense, you know, you want it to really be. The other thing is this has a kind of an odd way that this collar stands up. Now it's made perfectly according to instructions. And when I saw the model, the prototype in the store, it didn't have this kind of stand up, which is okay again, but I'm just telling you this to let you know that, you know, sometimes you'll turn around and make something and it is not going to look exactly like the prototype. And you may say to yourself, well, if the original knitter followed the instructions, I don't know how to answer that question. I just know that I've had this happen to me a few times where, you know, and maybe it's just the way it's sitting, you know, on my shoulders, but certainly this other issue here with the ribbing and this kind of pulling apart is definitely a question of the stitches that they chose. All right, so I have something else here that I'm working on, which is, this is, I believe this yarn is called Heritage Cascade, and I am making a drop. Oh, I don't have my board with me there. I'm making a modified drop shoulder. Now this, originally I had planned to make this a vest, and I think I told you once before that I can be very scattered, and sometimes I don't keep all my yarn together the way I should, excuse me. So I don't think I realized how much yarn I had. So I was going to go a vest, and then I found the rest of the yarn. So anyway, so this is a, excuse the cat hairs. So what I did with this though was the back will be like this. Let me just turn this in for you, so you can see the two armholes here. This, of course, is seed stitch, and I wanted, for a slimming effect, I wanted to knit it this way. So I'm knitting across. Now, what happens with stockinette inevitably is it will roll on the edges, which you see here. Now, once this is attached to the front, it's going to control that, but there's also a certain amount of rolling that takes place down here at the, and you know, I have even seen ribbing roll up, sort of roll under like this. So, you know, I can't really explain why, but I decided with the front to go with the conventional, you know, up and down, a stockinette. So this is the front here. And I wanted to show you, I am making a V-neck, and I wanted to show you this book that I've shown you this book before. In fact, this book is on the, sorry about there's cat hair everywhere in my house. I showed you this book once before. In fact, this book is briefly on the introduction. But it's well, we'll talk about that in a second. So here's so I matched my armhole here, like this same angle. But I'm going to be putting a sleeve in here. And so here's my V-neck. Now this is going to be the left side, so I'm going to put my buttons over here where I've marked them. And there should be a needle in here, but it's gone. I better see where that went. But so what I did was I counted the rows to get the even spacing for my buttons. And you know, buttons are very important. If you're going to use buttons, and the thing about a cardigan is you've got to be as sure as you can that you've got the buttonhole matching up with where the button's going to be. Now granted, you can move that button around, but it's still going to look a little pulled. It's not going to look quite right if the buttonholes are off. So let me show you. I'm over here. This is the right side, and I've made a buttonhole here. Now I don't know what that is. You see, this isn't one of those sort of artisan yarns, and it sort of sometimes has these sort of thick and thin spots in it. And so right over the buttonhole, I got this. And then you may say, so, well, gee, that's kind of a flimsy, you know. You can do a buttonhole stitch, which I think I'm going to actually show you with some contrasting yarn today to firm it up. So there's one there, there's one here, and I'm hoping that, or I'm pretty sure that I'll be able to, you know, get these to go just right, because I'm counting my rows. So I'm going to show you a buttonhole here. This will be my next buttonhole. And it's very, very easy to do. Okay. Now, so I'm hoping that this angle is okay for the camera. So I want to I've got 5 stitches. Oh, this is really a disgrace. I'm sorry about all these little. I have 5 stitches of stockinette here, of seed stitch. So I want a little bit of a stronger edge on the outside, so I'm going to knit 2. And now I'm going to go around like this. Excuse me, sorry, I'm skipping a step. Then I'm going to cast off 2. So there's 1. Sorry. And 2. So there's the bottom of my buttonhole. And let me go back and check something. Let me check one thing here. Let me go back. 1, 2. Okay, hang on. Okay, 1. Right, 1 and 2. Okay, I just want to be sure I'd done that right. Okay. And now I will knit across. So I've still got, you see, it looks like I'm right at the edge. That's why I thought I had done something wrong. It looks like I'm right already starting into the body of the sweater, but actually I'm not. I've got that 1 stitch there. So I'll just knit this across, and this is just regular knitting, so I'll just quickly do this and then come back across. So I'm hoping that, you know, I'm hoping some of you are undertaking some knitting of your own. Maybe some of you that were beginners when we first started watching this show. And you know, there are other knitting shows around. So I'm those of you that do you know, watch and follow, I really do appreciate it. the other thing about a cardigan is you, now the way they have you do the cardigans in this book is they have you add on the placket. They have you pick up and knit, which I showed you last week, and then do ribbing, horizontal ribbing. But I wanted the seed stitch, so I just worked it right in. But what you do have to remember when you're measuring is that placket, both plackets come over, they go over top of each other. So you've got actually an extra inch, say, on each end, because when these are together, you know, you don't want to be adding you don't want to add 2 inches in there, one placket next to each other, and they have to overlap for the buttons to work. So that's something that you have to remember. So I'll just quickly go back here. You know, why don't we just take a break? I'll finish this row because it's kind of boring just to watch somebody knit stockinette, and we'll be just back very, very short. It'll just take me a couple minutes to do this. Okay, so now I've come back, so I'm going to purl right up to, all right, purl right up to the end. You can almost kind of see this. I know this is a dark color, but you can kind of see this is my body of the sweater, this is the seed stitch. And so I'm going to, now this looks like this was I'm going to knit over this because, as you know, seed stitches, knit 1, purl 1, and then on the next row, purl over the knit and knit over the purl. So now I have to replace those 2 stitches. So I turn back around and I cast on 2 stitches, just like this ordinary cast on. You just come underneath and you're knitting it on, that you come underneath. Okay, now I've got my 2 stitches back. Come back here. And I've got a purl, so I'm going to knit, and I'm going to purl. Now, when I come back around, there is my little buttonhole. I'm going to kind of snug this up and knit across, of course, in seed stitch. So that would be purl, knit. There's the purl. I'm going to knit over top of it. Now this is, see, because this is a cast on, this is looking like a purl. So I purl knit. So now I'm going to do a purl. So right there at the buttonhole, I am kind of, you know, purl, knit, and purl. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, I think I dropped a stitch here. Wait a second. Let me see. Yep. I dropped a stitch. It happens. Okay, so knit. So this is a purl. So actually, while we're here, this is the way you pick up a stitch that you've dropped. You want to be sure you grab the stitch. In this case, it's a purl, which means that I'm going to bring this across and pull this under to make my purl stitch, because I need my 5. So there it is. Yeah, that's right. So I had to kind of look down because of the light. Okay, so now I'm going to knit this, and there is my buttonhole. Now knit across, continue my. So when people add on the placket, when patterns have you add on the placket, you know what I don't like it is it leaves a ridge back here where you picked up the stitches, and I think it makes it more likely to flip. Now we'll look at these patterns here in a minute. You know, and again, you know, they say, okay, you know, flatten out, you know, steam block the sweater. But as I say, I'm not too crazy about doing that. So I'm going to leave this for the moment. I just want to show you this. This is the book that I use. This is the this is the Knitter's Handy Book of Sweater Patterns. And there's a couple of different ones like this. And so I'm here on the modified drop shoulder sweaters. And as you can see, it's very much like what I have. It's the same as what I have over there on my on what I'm working on. So it's cut straight in and straight up. And when you go, they start with the child size. So for adults, so I'm going to look, and actually, this is a little diagram here, and you can't see this too well, but what you actually do is you shape the sleeve, and then you go straight up. Let me just grab something here to show you. Sorry. And then you go straight up as much as you need. And when you go straight up, that little bit there comes right in here. So that's straight. That little right angle comes right in there, and then it's shaped. So you look for your gauge. In my case, it was 4 stitches. So now you have a pullover back, cast on this, shape the armholes. So I'm going to turn over to pullover front with V-neck, and then they tell you, they say work is for back until armholes measure ending with the right side row, okay? So they're taking you right up on the front now, and now you're going to work your V-neck. And I was here at cardigan left front, cardigan right front with, oh no, left front with V-neck. So that's where I worked from, and I was at, and if you look right straight up here, this tells you that the circumference would be 50 inches. Okay, and you're working on 4 to the inch. So you're going to use 12, you're going to be decreasing over 12 stitches. And so that, and it looks pretty good. I was pretty pleased with it. What they have you do is they have you take 12 stitches, you can kind of, I don't know if you can kind of see how this is steep and this is kind of at an angle. You can almost sort of see where those stitches come in, and they go over. I don't know if Christine, I know this is dark, but you can see here, there's a decrease. Here's one. You can see them, it's just actually coming over the stitch below it. So that's where I'm with this. Now I'm going to show you that buttonhole stitch. Okay, so I guess I'll work on this bottom one here. So, I mean, obviously this is not, what I would be using, but I've got something handy that's contrasting. Now, before I start that, there was another thing let me show you something that I did wrong. I'm not too proud. On the back, let's see, is this where? Yeah. I think here, sorry, gosh, where is the darn? Oh, here we go. Okay. This is a little narrower than this. And you can probably, if I were to hold it up, it's just everything's, kind of twisting around here. But see, this is narrower than this. So I'm saying, well, what am I going to do? So it's on the back, probably people would notice it, but what I thought I would do is make one of those I-cords that I've showed you so many times, those tubes, and I thought I might just run it as a trim right over the shoulder, and that way I can kind of come a little bit over this way here and just camouflage a little bit of this width, and over here I'll just do it right here at the very edge. So just as a, and I will probably have enough yarn that I can bring that down the front as well to tie the design in. So I'm going to, here we go. So I have my airborne container with my needles in it. And by the way, this airborne is awfully good for you. So, it's just, consider you're buying a little container and the stuff inside is free. And I'm going to take my yarn and pinch this bring this through, okay, and cut this here. All right, I'm going to make my knot. And I'm going to make a double knot because this space is, this is a large gauge, and I'll need something, okay, to hold it. So, all right, so obviously you're going to start from the back because you don't want the little knot to show. And you just would come in here, and the first stitch you're going to take, you bring this down, you wrap this underneath, and this is also called a blanket stitch. You go next to it and wrap this, and you come around this way. Now you can do it the other way around. You can so let me just take it this way. Some people prefer it to do it the other way around. Let me show you the other way. So I'm just going to tack that there. So I'm going to come up here. Let me see now. Wait a minute. See, I'm used to doing it the other way. Wait a minute. This got caught in the. Okay. So I'm going to bring this, let's see, I think I bring this through. Oh, okay. And now I'm going to wrap it this way. I'm going to come back through here and bring it up this way. So you can see that this kind of, and then this kind of makes a nice little tight border. I think this other one looks better, but this is going in one direction, this is the other. If you have a matching thread, you're not going to see this. In fact, I would even use a double of sewing thread, but that will, and then come in here and do the same up on the top. Let's turn it around. But, you know, a lot of people just leave knitted buttonhole, oh, the wrong place. Leave knitted buttonholes just sort of just the way they are. They just, you know, leave them. The other thing you can always do is just take, here's that silly, okay, here we go. All right, so I'm going to come up here, and this is going to, okay. And then here again. So, I mean, needless to say, I mean, this of course, this looks very bulky, but that is what it will do, and it will have, you'll have this little border here that will stabilize the buttonhole. So that was just to show you that. Now, I had mentioned last week because we're coming up into the middle of January, and you know, I like to give you little projects to do. Where you can, you know, make little things where you're not getting involved in a big project and worrying about the fit and all of that, but you're knitting and to make maybe a small gift for somebody. And I was thinking for Valentine's Day, this is another little flower that can be made into a brooch. Of course, I've hauled this thing out a number of times. Actually, I think it's in the other bag. But there was that other flower that I made. It should be in here. Let's see. It is not. It might be in the bottom of that bag, which is like a big black hole. But you've seen a flower before that I made in like an off-white yarn. And these are called pinwheel flowers. This is Frankie's knitted stuff that I got off the internet. And at the end of the instructions, this person asks you, it says, my patterns are for personal use only, should not be used to knit items for sale. So it would be okay to make some and give something to someone. So I have done a couple of these petals already, and I'll show you. So I've done, I'm on my third one, and there's one little petal there, and here's another one here. So let's see if we get a better picture maybe that, so there's the way it was supposed to look when it's finished. So I'm halfway through, I'm at this point on this last petal. So I have done, and I'll do a full one for you. So I'm here at the bottom. I'm going to bind this off. I'm going to wait till I get to 15 stitches. Let's see if I'm there yet. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. All right, so I'm going to do a few more rows of stockinette here. And you know, I'm going to just take another break while I finish doing these few rows, because this is just simple stockinette knitting here. And it's really something that you already, if you've been watching the show at all, you already know. So I'll be right back when I finish these 3 little rows. Okay, so I'm back here. I wanted to show you the way this, we're going to be doing another one of these, but I thought I might as well show you anyway the way this little triangle is made. And actually, if you recall, on the last show, I was creating some triangles that would be joined to make the bottom of a scarf. And this makes a much nicer edge, what they have you doing here. So at the beginning of the row, very simple, you knit in front of, you knit in front and in back. Now, you will hear a term, and that gives me my extra stitch. So while I'm knitting this across. Now, there's a term called the front loop and the back loop, or they'll say through back loop. It's all one loop. I don't know why they just don't say back of the stitch or back of the loop, because it's very confusing the first time you look at that. So it's when we're going to do another one right here. Okay, so the front of the loop is, the front loop is here, as they call it, and the back loop is this. The back loop is this, and the front loop, I mean, I think it's just crazy and very confusing. But it's the term that they use. All right, so I'm going to do that increase again for you. Okay, so, because they want you to cast on, they want you to end it with 15 stitches, make these little flowers. So I'm in the front. You say, well, gosh, that's the front. It looks like the needle's going behind the other needle. And you may say, well, this is so petty, but it's really not a petty little thing, because you can really get yourself mixed up. So your needle goes behind this needle, but it's in the front loop. So it's kind of, so I'm knitting in the front, and now I'm going to knit in the back. And there it goes in the back loop, back of the loop, I'm saying it now. And I'm just going to go across. I'm just going to hold this down here while I'm just very lucky. I'm very grateful to have somebody who is as good on camera as Christina is, because if you don't have somebody, it doesn't matter, you know, what I'm doing if you can't see it. All right, so now I'm going to cast off 14 stitches. I'm going to leave 1 stitch on. All right, so this is just a simple cast off. And again, this is something you've seen many times. So you're knitting and you're just passing that first stitch over the second as you go down the row. This is acrylic, this is an inexpensive acrylic yarn. You know, when you're going to give something to somebody, I would say, you know, get something nicer than this. I use this for these. Okay, so now I've cast off. Okay, so now I've got one stitch left here. And now, okay, and now I'm going to take my needle in here and up here. Wait a minute, these came loose, hang on. Sorry. All right, so that's, okay, one stitch left. So now I'm going to bring this up here. So I've got this. I pick this up here. I've got this still here. And I bring this up and I pull this right over it. And that makes the little, oh, you know what, I've got, wait a minute, hang on, something's not right here, wait a minute, wait. Oh, sorry, I'm supposed to take it from here up to, wait a minute. Here, wait a minute, let me try to do this again. Oh, okay, this is, okay, then this one goes, this goes like this, sorry. Okay, and that will get, and that is giving me another one of my little stitches. So when these are all done, these come around like this and are attached in the back. And so there's another little step to this. There's a little centerpiece to knit into it, a little knot to put into it, which we'll finish. We'll be finishing next time. So I cast off these stitches, and I've got one left. And I go this way with my, I'm going to pick this up here. I pick up a stitch, like that pick up in knitting that I had told you about before, and now I'm going to pass this over, and there's my other stitch. And I'm just going to cut this and pull this out. So let's see, so there I've got, okay, so there's three of the five petals. There. Now you can go online and get this. You just, if you Google Frankie's knitted stuff, and we'll put this at the bottom of the screen, pinwheel flowers, and this will come up, and you'll see this. And you'll have this, you know, you'll have this for yourself. So, so I'm going to knit one more petal, and then we're going to look at the at our sock. So I cast on. I'm going to call this a cast-on stitch. I just made a little slip stitch, and I'm going to knit into the front and back. So when they say knit into front and back, that's like through the front loop, like we were just saying. Front and back. Okay. And so I've got that little, there's my little point, and so on the beginning of each stitch, I knit into the front and back, and I knit to the end. And knit, okay. So there is starting to come. So we'll go up a few rows of this, because we still have our sock to look at. to the end. So it's all knitting, so of course it's garter stitch. Okay, there it's coming. Okay, front and back. Okay, and knit to the end. Okay, so here's where you see. So here you see it's coming up right like that. We'll just do one more, and we'll go look at the sock. So, you know, I like the way that looks. If you look at these, it's nice. It's a nice crisp. It makes a nice crisp edge there. So, all right. So, next time I'll do another petal next time, and we'll add on the little centerpiece that we have to knit, and in the back. The little flowers have to, but I don't know, I think it's kind of a cute little thing. So if you can get an idea of how it will look. So, you know, and then you could even sew a button there in the middle, and then you could put your safety pin on the back to make the brooch, and add a little leaf, which we've also done. So, putting this aside, I don't know if you remember me, I had this little thing has been, I have looked for this thing high and low. This is just some of that invisible thread that I was using one time. So I looked for this high and low. I made this little baby size of this sock. There's the gusset. There's something isn't quite right here. I must have decreased when I shouldn't have here. There's the little back, which you saw last week. There's the heel, of course, the cuff. Now up here, here's the toe that's comes in like this. Oh, I was so mad I couldn't find these. I looked everywhere for. I just found it this minute. Now this doesn't look very good up here. Now, you know, to be frank with you, I mean, if you know, I don't know, if you're making the socks for, I was making this for myself. I wouldn't care about that. If you're going to give it to somebody, you do want to look. And there is a way, it's something called the Kitchener stitch, which it took me quite a while to master. Obviously, when this little sock was made, I had not mastered it. But it's a way that the stitches just smoothly kind of come right over the top. So, all right, so on this one here, now I worked on this in the meantime, and we'll put this away. And, all right, I'm on the, we've got the, okay. So this, right now what I'm working on here is the gusset. And that's what you see here, what you see on all socks. And I think I'm just about 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. Okay, so I'm ready to do one more round so I'll show you how this goes. With this last round, and then you work straight, which I'm going to just do a little bit of to see if we can get up and look at that Kitchener stitch before we're finished. So when you're doing this, now what you do, you decrease on one round, in other words, a round, so you're going around here. This always stays the same. This is the instep. And this, of course, is the heel. Now what I should have done, and I didn't do, I mean, it's not a big deal, but normally what you want to do is where you start, you want to put in the back. But, and I'm a little scattered, so I didn't think about this at the time. But I mean, you're really not going to see anything. It's just that you've got this little thing to hide. So, so I can see on here that I have already made this decrease. So I know that this row I'm going to knit straight across. And I have some, wait a second here, where am I? Oh, okay, I'm at the, oh, all right. Okay, oh, I've just, okay. All right, okay, sorry, I was in the wrong place. So I'm going to work across here. I've got some sock books at home, and this is a very crude, it's a very basic pattern, which, as I said the last time, I've been using. I have not branched out. It's something I have to make myself do. It's just, you know, to grow. And as you can see, I have multiple. This is probably my oldest copy. They keep getting, and the cat got to it. They keep getting misplaced, and I can't do without it. So I buy another one, and now I have a copier at home, so I've been copying. So I'm going to go right across here. Okay, now I have, okay, so I've gone, I'm on the round, the non-decrease round, and I don't know if Christina can see this, but you can see right here, see how these stitches come right out? They're not, you see well, this one is a fresh decrease. So I'm gonna knit across here. So in these books, they show you how you measure your foot, and you get, you know, the instep to fit, and the length. And so, I mean, the length is easy to deal with, but there are a lot more measurements involved. Whereas on this pattern, it's just sort of, you know, men, women's, children's. Okay. And I'm going to come across here. Now, if we look, let me get over here. You see now this is where it's kind of coming over. So I'm going to knit right in there. Come back across the instep, and we'll do one last set of decreases. My niece had this yarn. When she moved up here, she brought a lot of yarn that she really didn't want up with her. I guess she just, you know, when you're packing, you just kind of throw everything into the bag and go, you know, as best you can. But this, I think this is like the most horrible. I don't know why anybody would ever want to have anything made of this color, but so she gave this to me, so I'm glad I have some scrap yarn to work. 2, 4, 6, 8. All right, so I'm going to do one more decrease. Okay, so now I'm going to knit through the back loop. I'm knitting through the back loop. Because, oops, hang on. Okay. Sorry, let me press this. You know, this acrylic, sometimes it will make my hands sort of feel sweaty, and then it kind of starts to drag and get, you know, kind of fuzzed up. But, of course, it washes right out, and there's really no harm done. Okay. And okay, so I'm going to go through the back loop because I want this to slant forward. Okay. Wait a second. Nope, sorry. Wrong way. Oof, I almost didn't catch that. Sorry this is so slow. This has just sort of gotten tight on these needles, and it's a little hard to... Okay, all righty. Okay, so now you'll be doing the foot, and you'll be going round in regular rounds until you get up to decrease on the toe. So again, if you don't mind, I'm going to do a few rows here. I'm just going to take it up a little bit so we can get started with shaping of the toe, and then I think our hour will be just about up. So I'm going to take a couple of minutes, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I have just, clearly I should be making it longer than this, but I just wanted to get past the gusset. So the other thing to remember, at least in this pattern, is they often refer you back to this being, I don't know why they just don't say instep, well, I guess they have to put A, B, and C, or 1, 2, 3. But this would be, so this is needle 1, this is called 2, and this is 3. So I've just gone past needle 3. So now I'm on needle 1. So I'm going to decrease we have about 10 minutes. I'm going to decrease for the toe, and then we'll do the Kitchener stitch next time. So I knit across. Oops, get over there. Okay. I knit across to 3 stitches from the end, which is here. And I knit 2 together. And here, now knit 1, knit 2 together through the back loop, which is that. So if they just say knit, it's the so-called front loop, the front of the loop. And I'm going to be doing 2 decreases on the top, because the instep stitches were never decreased. So we're going to decrease on both ends. And then knit 2 together. And you may see me struggling with these needles because I'm working with a kind of a thick yarn. I mean, typically sock yarn is thinner than this, so you don't have this, but I wanted to use the thicker yarn because I thought it would be easier to see. So it's usually not. And now I knit 1. Get in there. Okay. And knit 2 together through the back loop again, because you want this to, on one side of the sock, or one side of the instep, it's angling in one direction, and the other, it's angling in the other direction. But right now, we're going to be, okay, so we're going to start to bring this in, and now I'm going to knit across every needle. And at some point, we'll go down to 2 needles, but we probably won't get there today. So I'm going to go right across. And see, you can see here, you can look, if you don't know where you are, you can look and I say, oh, okay, my stitch is going right over there. It's coming right across, so I know that I'm on the non-decreasing row. Same thing here. If you look, you see how this is going across here and this is coming over here. It's a little more obvious on this side. So I know that this is a row that I just go ahead and knit straight across. Ooh. So, I mean, the actual knitting, I mean, it's just, decreases, in knitting and, slipping some stitches, but there's so many different parts to a sock, that makes it kind of, well, for me anyway, it made it a little harder to remember than just knitting, the back of a sweater and then taking in the, putting in the armholes, work up, go across. It's more complicated than that. So let me just do one more set of decreases, and I think we'll be finished for this particular class. So now I'm on, oops, wait, okay. Back on needle 1, and you can see here that this was a regular stitch, so now I know I'm going to be doing my decrease. So it's a decrease row and a plain row. Okay, there it is. Okay. This one is knit 2 together through the back loop because I want it to go left. There it is. Okay. Now, regular, knit 2 together through the front part of the loop. So that, now you can see how this is coming in. And it always looks a little different on one side than the other. See, this is so much more obvious here. I don't know if there's really anything that can be done about that. I had, we were looking at the V-neck last time, and then this is through the back loop. Okay. Okay. And there we are. Okay, and so now this is, I don't know if you can see this, but it is, see how this is kind of starting to, this is starting to come in and will come in on the toe. So, so next time we'll finish with the socks. We will do the perfect V-neck sweater ribbing, which I was supposed to do today, but I got a little discombobulated, and we weren't able to do that today. We'll do it next time. And so I want to thank you for watching. This has been the Norfolk Knitting School. I'm Anne Marie Battistone. You've been watching Norfolk Public Access, and I just want to say that we are all Charlie. Thanks for watching.